Hi, everyone, and welcome. We today are actually streaming as usual live, but what we have today is something very extraordinary. We have somebody, a trucker, who's live from his truck. So we are going to trust that this internet and the streaming will work well from a truck. So, welcome everyone aboard. We are here to find out what it is about human beings that they can thrive under any circumstances. And yet, some people think they have to have the ideal circumstances to thrive. So, from coaching and working with so many people who are ill, having chronic pain, suffering a lot, I hear them tell me, but I don't have this, but this, my situation is not perfect for this. This it's not going to work for me because, I travel a lot. I do this. I'm on the road a lot. I cannot do this lifestyle. Well, I'm just saying, I'm always telling them, you're just not ready. And my proof today, the proof that I have for you all, is in Jordan Hunter, who's a trucker. So let's welcome Jordan and trust that the internet will continue working from the truck. Hi, Jordan. Welcome aboard.
Hi, Dorit. Hi, family and friends. Thanks for having me today.
So tell us about your history with trucking and living foods and why you went that path. Even just plant-based foods as a trucker in the United States, where you're located, can be a bit of a challenge, but not enough to say it cannot be done at all.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've been plant-based, vegan for a little over 10 years now. And so with that length of time, I started my senior year in college. So I've been in a lot of different living situations from, living on campus, eating from the campus cafeteria, to having my own place, which was helpful because I didn't have to rely on like my parents and, the diet of other people who were buying food. So that was helpful. But, to traveling overseas, living in Costa Rica, Thailand, even Ghana, even Africa. And honestly, I've never had a issue eating plant foods, eating a exclusively plant diet, even eating exclusively raw. Obviously, it can take a little bit more planning, and you know, like you mentioned earlier, you just have to want it. You have to value it in order to, you know, put things in place so that you can have the food that serves you best. But so with truck driving, I'm pretty new to the industry. Been over the road driving for about 3 months now, and well, a little bit over 3 months. And I would say the toughest part is not necessarily eating plant foods, eating raw living foods, but more so the winter time in general. The same issues that people have living in their home with eating raw in the winter is the same issues you're going to have over the road as a trucker, which is certain like less availability of like variety of fruits, and obviously just the discomfort of temperature, the lack of sunlight, things like that. But the main thing is like I prepare most of my foods, like, and that's been a part of my life since I went plant-based, went vegan. um you're gonna want to plant, you're gonna want to prepare your own foods because, and I would say that's something I got into before I even went vegan. I kind of gave up fast food, most fast food spots, like maybe 2 years or so before I went vegan, just in college, realizing like, how the health thing goes, and like kind of just having an epiphany like, yo, this McDonald's thing, or, whatever type of fast food, Taco Bell, like, this is not good for me. This is not good. And, so I already established the habit of buying groceries, making foods, and when I went vegan, you know, it really became more about like smoothies and simple meals, but like staples, right? Whether that's rice and beans or vegetables, sweet potatoes, broccoli, things like that. And I started doing like, fruit challenges and going like 30 days eating only fruits and experiencing the detoxifying benefits of that. And that also helped to reset my gut so that I would actually crave more fresh raw foods and I could taste the nuances of different plants and things. So doing that sort of cleansing process, it's a good way to acclimate yourself so that you're not as attracted to processed foods. And once that value is created in your own life, then in your own experience, then you just do what it takes. We have it's 2026. We live in, I live in the United States of America, like the land of abundance and opportunity and variety of so many options of whatever. You can thrive on whatever diet you want here. So yeah, and so back to life as a trucker, you know, I stock up on what I need before I leave home, whether that's like bags of fruits. I recently just left the grocery store like an hour ago, and I picked up like a few pounds of mangoes, some mandarins. I got some things like some broccoli and sweet potatoes just to, it helps. There's obviously certain conveniences with cooking food, right? So yeah, I have my ability to like steam vegetables and bake a sweet potato or whatever. And but I thrive on fruits, and I don't feel as good when I'm not having fresh, high quality, water rich fruits. So in the winter, as an example, my main staple that's been tried and true that just totally makes it easy and enjoyable is apples, There's so many apples. And yeah, and apples are convenient. I can eat them while driving, they last, they store very easily. So apples have been great, and mandarins and oranges and citrus have been great. And that's the main thing that I do. And then like with the wintertime, having warm teas has been helpful. Just getting in, more herbs and more nutrition from teas and things like that. That's been helpful on the road. But it's really like a no-brainer for me. Like because I'm changing situations, it doesn't mean I like have to change my diet. I don't automatically give up on the foods that make me feel my best because, oh, I'm going this place or I'm traveling. And actually, in my situation, I was actually house free or like home free, homeless around the time that I went vegan. Obviously, I wasn't just like living on the street eating out of a trash can or anything, but I was having housing instability, last year of college, didn't take care of like my financial situation with having housing, but I wanted to get to class. So I stayed in school, but had to figure out where I was going to live. So I got to crash with a friend, but that's actually around the time that I came across, veganism and the information about a plant-based lifestyle and the health benefits and the environmental impact of that thing and just overall the ethics of it. So I was more so inspired by the information that I had gotten and just the people I'd seen on YouTube and books and doctors and stuff. It wasn't a trendy thing like in 2016, not in my world. So it was more so my independent research and just becoming inspired and my own journey with reading about, different forms of Hinduism and Buddhism and Jainism and understanding that in most religions and most spiritual practices, there's always like a little bit more honor for people who are abstaining from plant foods, just it's just compassionate. It's just loving, right? So that's my spiel about the trucking, going vegan, and I'm happy to go into more depth about any of those aspects. But yeah, I've lived abroad. I've been a musician, a model. I've worked in the office. Bring my fruit to work. Make smoothies at home, and it's really just second nature is the word. It's quite second nature to eat plant foods and also to eat raw foods.
So, do you know of Dave the trucker?
Say it again.
Do you know of Dave the trucker?
No, I haven't heard. Is that like a vegan trucker person?
No, he called himself. He used to call himself Dave the Raw Trucker. And
Wow.
he used to give this is long ago. He used to give daily reports and videos of his life on the road as a road tracker. And it was really fascinating. He had a lot of people following him, a lot. And how other fellow truckers, when they went to truck stops, were absolutely shocked at what he was eating and what he was doing. And they themselves started getting interested. And then there is a film, I don't know if you know this film. I think it's called Fat, Sick, and Tired or
Fat,
something of the
sick, and
sort.
nearly dead, maybe.
Nearly Dead. That's it. Yes. And he showed also driving across the United States, although he's from Australia, if I remember, and juicing. And he would put the juicer at the back of his truck and hook it up and juice right there. And other truckers would come over and say, "Oh, let me try that." And they got so hooked onto it. And he did it to lose weight, but I don't think there's any losing weight. But and he was stunned to see the difference. But it made a huge impact. And now he has all these juicing places and a juice machine now, which is incredible, the Nama juicer. But I want to ask you also, you do something very unusual for truckers, even if they are on this lifestyle. Is that on the road you actually sprout? Tell us about that.
Yes, I actually sprout. So I've been sprouting, just germinating different things for a few years, whether it's lentils or quinoa, or buying the sprout here and there. But I've been sprouting at home for like the past year or two, and so it just naturally made sense that once I got on the road, I would continue sprouting, especially with being winter time. It's convenient, right? It's like it's this sort of convenient way to grow food and to have fresh food that you can grow at home. You know where it comes from. You know where the seeds are sourced, and you get energy, you get nutrition. And pretty much for me, the best benefit is, how healing and detoxifying the sprouts actually are for the system, for the lungs, the kidney, the liver, things like that. So with being a trucker, obviously I'm in more industrialized spaces. I'm in like an enclosed truck during the winter. I'm being dehydrated by like heating systems. There's diesel exhaust or just rubber and pavement and things. So I really feel an immense benefit that when I'm consuming sprouts, I know that I'm supporting my body's detoxification pathways. So I actually just have right here, my little sprouting kit. It's just simple, a jar, and see this one's full, but it's just a jar with a straining, like a mesh lid, and you have a stand that allows the water to drain out so that your sprouts can stay dry. And it's so simple. I just soak the seeds, like a little quarter cup of seeds, overnight, and the next morning I drain and rinse it, and I can just leave it there. It doesn't always stay in the stand while I'm driving, but I can just lie it down, and it just I only have to rinse it like once in the morning and once before bed. And so in like 3 to 5 days, I've got an immense amount of sprouts. And it's super convenient. And yeah, it's kind of like a food sovereignty thing, and just like, yeah, pretty much the food sovereignty and the autonomy of knowing that like I always have food if I got a pack of seeds. And I've got like so much sprouts here. This container is just so overfilled with sprouts. And I'll just take a handful in the morning or before bed, or I'll make like huge salads, because it alleviates the need to like, you know, rinse a whole ton of lettuce and chop up all these different lettuces. Like I can throw this in a bowl with some cherry tomatoes, slice an avocado, or drizzle some olive oil on it. And I've got like a really nutritious meal. I've been chopping apples in my salad, raisins, but it's super convenient, and I feel great. And I've actually inspired a few other truckers. When I've been at like some of the terminals and truck stops, they might see me like rinsing my sprouts, and they're like, "Oh, what's that? Oh, is that broccoli sprouts? Is that alfalfa sprouts? Like I've been seeing those. I've been eating those." And I'm like, "Yeah, I actually grow these in my truck. So like, it's way cheaper for me, and I always have it available." Yeah,
Can you bring it back up to the camera, please? Because those
of
look
course.
really, really healthy. Oh my gosh, so healthy. So, one of my issues when I sprout, because I am a chef, I make food for people, so I sprout in the winter a lot, is I have to be really careful to get back on time to wash them. How do you manage with that? Is it easier for you because you can just pull over and go to the nearest place? And does it matter to you that you don't know what the water is there? Because I'm very particular with the water I put in the sprout. How do you manage with that?
Right. So with the water, when I'm at home, I have a countertop distiller, so I just distill tap water or whatever I have. Um, On the road, I pretty much purchased distilled water from, Walmart or Kroger, someplace with a huge parking lot, so I can just pull the truck in, stock up on water at your Kroger or Walmart. Also, the truck stops, they sell spring water and distilled water. It's a little more pricey. It's almost like $3 or $4 a gallon at the truck stop. So it's emergency, but when I'm at the store, I can grab like 5 or 6 gallons for like $7, right? And that's the kind of water that I use. With the rinsing process, I haven't had any issues with just rinsing them first thing in the morning and then rinsing them again in the evening. Um, I think because it's winter time and I'm not really big on like running the heat or using AC or anything unless absolutely necessary. And also the truck's compartmentalized, right? So I can have my climate control up here in the driving cab, and in the back where I sleep, it's totally ambient, right? So it's just if it's cold outside, it's cold back there. So I just have to rinse it, once in the morning, once in the evening before I go to sleep, and I'm done. I've never had to try to get a rinsing cycle in the middle of the day. With the sprouts that I grow, which are mostly broccoli sprouts or like a salad mix, which has like your lentils, radishes, alfalfa, things like that. And I've sprouted chickpeas as well. Um, and yeah, it's never like dried out or like wilted or spoiled or anything. It's been great. And even for storing them, I have a refrigerator which I can store things for getting cold, but sometimes it's actually too cold. So some vegetables kind of freeze in the fridge. So in the evening, I leave my produce out here in the ambient space where, the nighttime temperature is between like 30 and 50 degrees. So everything stays fresh and cool. And I don't even have to refrigerate the sprouts in the winter.
Wonderful. Absolutely great story. Thank you for that. So if you can mute yourself for a moment, I'm going to bring on Pete. Pete, have you ever traveled and sprouted or traveled? I'm talking about in a car, a motor vehicle, a truck, or whatever, a camper, and continued your lifestyle.
Yeah, most definitely, yes. Even it brings me back to a car when I was visiting my daughter, and I'd have a little inverter in the boot and a plug into the 12-volt electric system, and I'd have my blender. So there I am with my boot open, putting the fruits in and whatever it was, and then blending up. So yeah, you'd get a lot of strange looks and a lot of people, wondering what you're doing. And I do advocate that at festivals, and we're doing this little traveling as a raw vegan in Morocco, and we're going to do it in other countries I've been in as well. So that is part of the package. I nearly brought an inverter with me. If we was driving in a car more over here, I would have brought a little inverter with me, so we could have just done the same thing with that. So you can really make it easy. You could say you really got to be wanting the change, wanting the shift. For me, it's a wake up call, and made the equation with other people passing away. So that made me want to shift and change, and health reasons, like a lot of us here. So, if I look back pre that, it was just all very oblivious to me in terms of the transition of that. So at the moment, yeah, we got fenugreek actually. So these are a big bundle of fenugreek, if you can see.
Can you Pete, lift it higher to the camera, please? Thank you. Great. Wow. Lovely. I like your sprouting bag as well.
Yeah, and that's amazing, the fenugreek. And the alfalfa, we can just about see. I'm probably coming in and out. And we are actually in Morocco at the moment doing a few projects at the moment as well. So the chickpeas over here was just something else. In England, chickpeas have never really sat well for my digestion system. Over here, they're about double the size, and they're so fluffy and light. And, with my partner, it was just like, wow, this is really interesting. So we found so many different things, why I really don't know. Maybe if they're grown over here and there's more sun and the soil quite different. So, you know, maybe it is to do with that. The more sunlight, more charge, more life force, you know, living energy into the foods. Which brings me my awareness to when I was in St. Lucia, what is it now? The spinach and the kale. In England, it's so hard in St. Lucia, a Caribbean island. It was just so amazing. So, you know, I can relate to Jordan, and hi Jordan, and hi Herb and everyone, and obviously you, Dory. I can relate to when he mentions about getting them more in season, because you really do notice the difference. You know, with my daughter, she notices the difference. We was over, let's just say, been here for a month or 2 months now. In the beginning, the permisons, we couldn't eat enough of them. Now, over the last month, she's just turning her head away, and we're all, oh yeah, there's something changed. Maybe they're just not in season now. So camper vans, you know, I've had camper vans for about 30 years. So, but my transition has only been over the 18 years. So we do kit up. We take Tupperwares with us. We make it at home. We take our food with us. And then generally we'll have a salad if we're eating out with someone. In England, we don't do too much of that. We've done more in Morocco because of the Moroccan salads, carrot salads, avocado salads. So there's a bit more variety, and it's a bit more of a novelty, and it's relatively cheap to eat out. So yes, I mean, so yeah, over the 18 years, when we do the festivals, literally shopping bags, we do maybe half of a shopping bag of sprouts. So with mung beans and mixed broccoli, alfalfa, chickpea. Yeah, so we're very big on the sprouting, kimchi, sauerkraut. So we always have that as part of the main staple, or just like side dishes at the festivals, and then we have like a main meal. So we don't let nothing stop us making sure we are well equipped. We brought our blender here. We actually even brought our distiller here as well, because we are very, you know, fussy about water. I've had a distiller for about 12 years, and you know, everything we do is with distilled water. So yeah, rinsing, and if I can't, then that is what it is, you know. But if I can, that's what we do. And you know, with our daughter as well, she's very very clean, should I say, and she really does notice it, and she's a good thermometer of what really is really alive and vibrant, and really serving you really on a, you know, energetic level. So yeah, that's, so everywhere we go, nothing stops us, nothing's going to stop us, you know. And you know, once you realize you sort of sustain that vibration, you know what brings you down. And then you might have had something just because you needed that bit of fruit, but it was a pretty dead fruit, and then you just realize it's just not doing you any good. So we've got to the stage we just won't even touch certain fruits, even though they're, you know, so-called might look amazing. That was another thing as well. We do our I think I'll try and get that up there. Okay, move it back a bit.
No, yeah, move it back. The more you move it back, the better. Yeah, move it back, please.
Okay.
Move it towards you. Yes, yes.
So yeah, that's our wheat berry. So we do, you know, our Rejuvelac as well. So we amazing the Rejuvelac, what we feel from that. I mean, our daughter, you know, she can't get enough of it as well. And then we play around with the berries after and dry them out, and even make a crust or some crackers and or even biscuits and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, well done, Jordan. I mean, that's amazing in the truck there. But, you know, I get it, because once you realize, you know, we may slip back or go too heavy, even in the so-called raw world, you know, raw vegan, should I say. But in the first 5 years, with all what I was reading, no wonder we fell. You know, certain authors, I won't mention their name, but, you know, heavy cashews, heavy dates, heavy cacao. You know, so in the first 4 years, my smoothies were, you know, 2 liters of like maybe 5 bananas, half a cup of dates, half a cup of, or 3/4 a cup of cashews, and you know, other things. So, but their main 3 things, and especially if the bananas, you know, you get to hear some stories about how the bananas actually come from other countries green and they get sprayed to ripen, what we have in England. So in terms of living foods, that all them 3 I mentioned weren't very living. And even the dates we get, the dates in Morocco or dates in other countries, but let's just say Morocco, they're so more vibrant, you know. And then I realized it's like any bottled juice in the market, you know, is basically sugar because it's not cold pressed, and people are buying these juices thinking it's healthy, but it's sugar. So what I realized with fruits that are kind of really been hanging around for a long time, then that's when there could be more sugar, more acidic, more dead. So that's when they're not really serving you. And this whole thing, you know, fruits are sugar, it's, you know, from that point of view, I'd get it. From the other point of view, I'd say it's nonsense because it's a living, you know, vibrational food. You know, we get a bit stuck on all the proteins and amino acids and things like that. Let's, you know, a bit like what we had with the guy, what was his name? Anyway, we're talking more on the Essenes in terms of living food or dead food, you know. So if we did a chart like that, like alkaline and acidic, in terms of how much living food we put in our body, majority of us would realize, me in the beginning, I would have probably had 90% as well as acidic as well as dead food. So, you know, if we go on terms of vibrant food, the sprouts are living, you know, and living fruits, you know, especially through the summer in England, you know, the figs, the apples. We had an amazing summer last year. It's, you know, found about 3 more fig trees and plums, figs, apples. Me and my partner and my child, we couldn't get enough of them. So and it really did energize us. So that was, you know, such a beautiful summer. So yeah, so it's wise to be careful. You know, we can be thinking with, especially in England, there was this big promotion, maybe in other countries, make sure you're getting your 5 a day. However, you know, what 5 a day are you getting? Yeah, you're getting fruits and maybe some veg, but, you know, how alive is it? So that's really important. And then this is why people say, oh, that didn't work for me. It's like I've gone through many and I've walked through many of them programs myself, sabotaging it, or got to see why. And I've talked many people through them situations and showed them certain potentials where and why that they have not been able to sustain it. Again, the idea of raw, and if you're not doing regular cleanses, intermittent fasting, and certain detoxing, well, you know, that is a major part of the whole journey. And I remember you talking about singing, dancing. I do my jin shin, you know, whether it's yoga, qigong. Excuse me. It's really neat. You really need to approach it from a holistic point of view, really. Otherwise, we can see why it can be more challenging. So maybe I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you for that. I'm going to bring back Jordan just before I go on to Herb. Jordan, so you saw that and you heard Pete talking about sauerkraut, kimchi. Do you partake in any fermented foods on the road? Sorry, you need to unmute yourself first, please. Thanks.
Oh, yeah. So typically I'm always having a jar of kimchi when I'm at home. You know, I've been making kimchi, you know, for a few years now. I haven't really gotten to the sauerkraut too much, but on the road I haven't made that a priority yet. And that would probably be a really good, that would probably really up the game. I mean, I just had a cabbage the other day. But I steamed it or I boiled it. So, but yeah, that's something I should definitely incorporate. Just chopping up the cabbage and, you know, putting it in a jar with a little bit of salt, I believe, and just letting that ferment and culture, because that would definitely increase the game. I use a little bit of like vinegar. I have some apple cider vinegar or like a medicinal vinegar tonic that I bought. And that's about it. So I haven't really gotten too much into the fermented foods. But I just prioritize I keep lots of limes and lemons. So I'm always using that as my acidity for my salads and stuff. But yeah, that would be a game changer for the probiotics and just the gut flora and just the satiety of it, right? Like super satisfying. So thanks for that reminder. I definitely appreciate it.
Also, because you're on the road, and if you run out of anything, you can always go into a grocery store or an Asian place where you can find any of those fermented foods as well. I suggest if you're doing the cabbage, I personally don't never use vinegar. I don't understand why people do, but it doesn't matter. I would suggest you use caraway seeds. That's what my mother did when I was growing up. It's amazing with the cabbage to use caraway seeds. So I'm going to bring in Herb here. Hi, Herb. Would you be able to do this lifestyle as a trucker? You're a professional cyclist, so you go at a different pace, but nevertheless, would that appeal to you?
Cut out there. So I'm gonna say hi, Jordan. That was what an amazing introduction that was. That was jam-packed, full of joy. Listen to everything that you shared. Yeah, man,
Herb, I'm going to interrupt you for a moment. You're very low. You're not loud enough. Maybe you're not close to the mic.
Okay. Bear with me a moment. I plug myself in.
How is it? No, not yet.
Can you hear me well?
Yes, definitely now.
You can hear me now. You can hear me now. Cool.
Yes,
Cool.
yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Yeah.
So start from scratch again, please.
Yes, I will. Rewind. Yes. Hi, Jordan. It's great to have you on here. And what an amazing introduction that was from you. That was jam-packed, full of joy. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to all that you shared. You're such a ray of light, man, honestly. Such a huge inspiration. So much that you shared and expressed, I resonate with as well. You know, I've been on this path for a long time now, been vegan for over 10 years and living and thriving on raw food, mostly fruit, for around 8 years now. Similar start, like being independent and living on like smoothies to begin with, and yeah, fending for myself and going into the deep end, and yeah, it's brought me so much joy. The thing with sprouts, I love sprouting as well. I don't do it as often as I'd like, but man, they're just so juicy, so tasty. Like, I know how nutritious they are, how good they are for us, but just a taste and enjoyment of them alone tells me like how good they are. Absolutely love it. Really nice. So it's great to have you on here and share everything. It's really nice. It resonates and to share with others. What I love about this lifestyle as well is the simplicity of it. It's not too complicated. It can look complicated for those unaware and not used to it. Everything new can be a challenge to begin with. It's just learning and adapting. So to the question that you asked me, Duri, like when I go traveling around, I just take a backpack with me, like full of mangoes or something, if I'm out on an 8-hour bike ride or something, and that sustains me. Funny enough, yesterday I'm in Morocco as well, actually. I've been staying with Pete for some time, and yesterday I did a big ride into the wilderness and into the mountains, and it's one of my first rides since recovering from being hit by the car. So it's quite a testament what happened yesterday, because what was intended was a gentle, easy ride going out for an hour. So I had a huge breakfast of clementines, followed by a banana, apple, date smoothie. And then a few hours later, I went out on the bike, and then I got drawn in to explore further into the wilderness. I was drawn by the mountains. Thought, okay, I'll just go up this massive mountain and climb up higher. I ended up being out for 5 hours. I didn't have no food with me whatsoever, only a bottle of water. And yeah, ended up chasing the sun going down. So I was like, crikey, I'm going to be like stranded in the middle of nowhere. It was quite a bit bit nervous actually, not knowing where I was going. But what amazes me, and I say this is a testament to the lifestyle, that I was able to climb the mountains, be out active, physically active, working hard for like 5 hours on no food. I attribute that to the lifestyle, sustaining myself on living food, on eating an abundance of fruit. It just makes the body so much more efficient, and the recovery is amazing. Nothing else comes close to it. But yeah, that was my epic experience yesterday. There's so much more to share on that I would like to touch on another time. I don't want to take up too much time here, because I'd love to hear more of what Jordan's got to say and share, because I'd love to know, how did it come about that you become a trucker? And yeah, hear about your story, man. Thank you for listening.
Excellent question, Jordan. People want to know, how did you get into the world of trucking?
Yeah. So honestly, it was just kind of a spiritually aligned timing, divine alignment. A few friends of mine, well, I would say the seed was planted when I was very young. My grandmother, was dating a guy. He's kind of like a step grandfather. And his name was Big Daddy. And Big Daddy was a trucker. And so I was maybe in like fourth, fifth grade. And I kind of knew, like, yeah, he'd be gone sometimes, but he'd come back. And he was also a musician, a blues musician down in Mississippi. But during the summertime, he would invite me to go on the road with him in his big semi truck. So I guess, looking back on it, that's probably a bit of a rare experience for a kid. I mean, some kids might go on like family vacations with their families, like RV or something, or, they have those cool. Big Daddy also had this cool, like old school, like van with like the shag carpet and, like the Scooby-Doo van, but like inside there was like a sink and like a bed and like cabinets and stuff. So these are kind of some of my vivid nostalgic memories of like the 90s and stuff. And so yeah, over the summer I would go on the road for about 2 weeks with Big Daddy. And yeah, like I didn't know that it was really cool for me, but I didn't know this was like a kind of a rare experience to be able to like live in a truck and have, Big Daddy was a tall, big dude. So his bed seemed like it was like a huge, like king size bed. And, I'm sure he had like a fridge, and, back then we ate whatever. So, truck stop food, boiled peanuts and, fried chicken and stuff. But, so that was, the seed was planted there, where I got to experience, summertime on the road with my Big Daddy. And, fast forward to the future, I recently became a father. About 15 months ago, my daughter was born, and she's a healthy, thriving, mostly raw food baby. She pretty much loves just fruits and veggies and breast milk, but she does love the Ethiopian teff injera. Like, she'll just eat the teff injera like by itself, like no anything. So that's always, interesting to see and enjoy. But she really does prefer like simple fruits, vegetables, smoothies. Like, my daughter's drinking like green smoothies and juices, right? And she loves tomatoes and strawberries and peaches and stuff, but she's mostly, enjoying breast milk predominantly. And so, I knew that, hey, I've got to like bump up my economic stability, right? Because, fruitarian, raw vegan, kind of hippie, laid back lifestyle, traveling, living in the tropics, and not really focusing on like accumulating loads and loads of money. I'm 32 now. I just turned 32 a week ago. And so I hadn't spent a lot of time like accumulating wealth and like stability, right? Like, whether that's like owning land or a home or a car or things like that, right? I've been a nomad for my entire adult life. So, came back to America with my fiance and our, unborn daughter, and we've had the baby here. And around that same time, I actually had a few friends of mine who literally, like, at least two of my friends, were actually actively pursuing their CDL, commercial truck driving license. So I was just hearing their stories and, watching how their situation kind of, for them getting a stable job and having the trucker job really created more economic stability for them, changed their circumstances, changed their level of like confidence and security in the world. And another friend of mine, he's very similar to me. He was a nomad. He started a family. Shout out to Amunatan Dynasty. They know who they are. And, so he also started, he got into trucking. And so I was, hearing his stories of him just, driving here and there and, getting those, consistent checks and stuff coming in. But it was important when he did it because he's also like, high raw vegan, fruitarian, plant-based alkaline person. So seeing that, he could do this trucking thing while also doing this lifestyle, and it was simple for him, it was doable. So that just planted the seed. And like I said, I was kind of looking for stable work. So my research, I came across an opportunity to get my license, and I just, stuck to the licensing pathway and did the education thing. And I started driving, did my training and started driving trucks I started around November, like end of October, end of November, one of those months. And like I said, with me, I got started like in the winter time. So it's all cold, it's dreary, it's gray, it's snowy and icy. I feel like I had like probably one of the most intense, beginner trucker experiences, because I'm just, mind you, I'm a nomad. Like I'm living abroad and stuff. I'm hardly driving, I know how to drive, but like, I don't hardly like rent a car or, drive in Thailand or Costa Rica. Now I have, though. I've driven, on the left side of the road in Malaysia, and I think in Bali, renting motorcycles, in Thailand. I drove in Ecuador, drove on the edge of the mountains and stuff, but not a lot of recent experience with just like driving a vehicle. Then I come all the way to America. I'm here for a few months. Next thing you know, I'm getting trained to drive like a 53-foot trailer, like 80,000 pounds of cargo. And so that was like an adjustment, but nothing I couldn't do. I'm a musician, so I have a lot of practice and training with my dexterity, with my like hand-eye coordination. And obviously truckers actually have to be healthy. We have to, I say healthy, but we have to pass like medical, like physical exams to even get our license, to even go to trucking school, and also to get our license, and also to get hired with the company. We have to pass a physical and, drug screenings and things like this. So I was happy that I was, actually very healthy. Had my urine and everything tested, and I think my blood or something, or I got my blood tested for something else. But it was just nice to see like I'm super healthy. I had my vision checked, because you have to see in order to drive. So a lot of truckers, they might, if you wear glasses as your normal day to day, then you also need to wear glasses to drive a commercial vehicle. And little short side story, I actually grew up wearing glasses, like seeing glasses. But once I was diagnosed with like astigmatism and like nearsightedness and things like that. But around 2016, around the time that I got heavy into fruits and alkaline living and detoxification, I also came across, holistic ways to heal your vision and things like that. So I didn't do anything special. I just like I stopped wearing my contacts. I didn't wear my glasses. And I think with being a cyclist, because I also never did anything professional or extreme, but I enjoyed like urban cycling and riding my bicycle around Atlanta and, different cities in Dallas, Texas. So I've been big into cycling since like high school. So a good 15, 20 years of like intense cycling, hilly places. And I feel like the way that you exercise your eyes when you're riding a bicycle, especially in an urban environment, you're looking at traffic, you're shifting your vision, you're looking ahead, you're looking close. So I feel like I'm, strengthening my eyes in that regard, but also detoxifying my system, removing acids and mucus and inflammation. All that to say, I just didn't need my glasses anymore. I could see very clearly. A lot of times I see things that even people with glasses can hardly see, right? So my vision is not perfect like 20/20, but I did have an eye exam when I was getting ready for trucking, and it's something like 20/25, something like that. Or, it's like very close to near perfect, but that's just another testimonial to this lifestyle that I got rid of my seeing glasses. And yeah, but I forget the question, but trucking, how I got into trucking. That's my story. You know, how I got into trucking was influenced by my friends, seeing their lifestyle, knowing it's possible, and I just put it in my mind and like put my feet to the ground and made it happen. And it's an adjustment. I will say it's not all glamorous, it's not all glorious at all. You know, I sit a lot, and that's been a huge change for me because I'm so used to like hiking and walking like 20,000, 30,000 steps a day in the mountains, in the Andes Mountains of Ecuador, or just walking and doing yoga. You know, I'm a professionally trained yoga instructor. You know, I've been a professional Thai massage therapist at times. So I enjoyed like giving massage because that would also be like, that would substitute as my movement practice for the day, right? Like stretching and, you know, all these things. I love calisthenics and, you know, pull ups and walking and running. So for me to sit for like 8 to 12 hours a day is an adjustment, and that can create lots of health issues naturally, right? You're just stagnant and you're sitting, and but I'm finding that balance in incorporating movement into my trucker lifestyle because it's necessary and it helps with like the mental health and just with your energy, right? And that's another piece is that I actually don't understand my partner. She brought up this point. She's like, wow, Jordan, I hadn't thought about this, but like, how are truckers like staying awake all day, eating crap, eating like cheeseburgers and like snacks and stuff? Like, how are they even doing that? And I was like, well, Christina, you got to remember, most people drink coffee, you know, like, so they're not, the average person is not really in tune with their true energy level because they might rely on stimulants, whether it's coffee, caffeine, energy drinks. We've all seen these like trendy beverages that, you know, people are consuming. Um, but for me, because I'm not relying on stimulation to have energy, I actually need quality sleep, and I actually have more energy when I'm eating lighter, more hydrating food. So I wouldn't be able to sustain being a trucker if I wasn't eating plant-based, eating raw living foods as my diet, because other foods just drain my energy naturally. Like it just doesn't even calculate for me. I would need stimulants in order to like remain actively driving and concentrating and focusing while eating, you know, even just like rice and beans, which are vegan and healthy. It's just there's no way this would totally dehydrate me and slow my digestion, my bowels, and you know, I even notice when I eat more acidic foods, my vision gets slightly more blurry, right? So I can notice and observe those things. But also, I know when I'm eating really healthy, really clean, or I have like a really mineral rich tea or a green juice, it's like my vision gets like crystal clear. The colors get really vibrant. So I feel, you know, this raw living lifestyle, this natural holistic lifestyle, over time, as you detoxify, as you live a more sober lifestyle, you become more fine tuned to how your body is responding to your environment. And you develop the skills in order to like naturally medicate yourself and remedy any sort of imbalances that you might notice, whether that's pain, inflammation, your vision is blurry, your ears ringing, whatever the case, a headache, you know, every now and again, yeah, I get a little dehydrated or constipated or something, right? But I actually feel it, whether it's like in my joints or, you know, like tension in my head. But I also naturally know how to remedy it. I'll do some stretches, I'll do some massage here, I'll do some lymphatic things, and you know, I'll just rotate my wrist, do some qigong, some, you know, energetic movement practices, and I'm like naturally always healing myself, and it just feels so great to be like self-sustained, you know, my own doctor for the most part. You know, obviously, if anything serious can happen, you know, trauma, injuries, things like there's always professional people who might be able to offer you, you know, better ways of healing. But I'm able to just really intuit what my needs are. And I'm in tune with my environment, even in an industrial urban environment. I'm in tune with what foods might be in the right season, or what might solve my imbalance, whether that's drinking some water, eating an apple, eating some raisins if I need like dense energy, right? Or if I just want to be more satiated and it's like, oh, I'm just too like floaty area. I'll just have some dates and a couple of pecans or, um, walnuts or whatever have you, and tahini, so, sprouts. So there's a lot of options, but as our brother here said, it's actually quite simple. Nature provides everything you need. You just got to know where to find it when you're separated from nature by your environment. So, yeah.
Do you ever get a chance, Jordan, to actually visit and go to places that, like farms that specialize in maybe fruit or organic, biodynamic growing?
So here in the States, I don't prioritize it. I don't make as much time for that as I could or as I should or as I would like to. But I do prioritize shopping for most of my food in like your local farmers markets, your weekend market, your Saturday organic, kind of market where local farmers are bringing their produce, their biodynamic permaculture, their natural food stuff. So that is where I prioritize getting the bulk of my produce. Here in the States, some of the best food that you can get fresh grown are from like Amish or Mennonite communities, where they're, yes, they do sell a lot of butter, milk, cheese, honey, and like jams, and but they have lots of pickled vegetables. But they always have amazing local seasonal fruits and nuts and seeds and vegetables. So that's always, I do shop from local farmers, but I don't always get to visit those actual farms, if that makes sense.
So that's what I'm asking, yes. And so you don't have much leeway in your timing of going from one place to another to maybe do a little side trip and go to a dynamic farm up the hill or things like that. That doesn't play into a trucker's life, or does it?
Right. Yeah, that's not really that feasible. Not in the way that I am. Like there's company drivers and then there's owner operators. So I drive a truck that's owned by a company and I work for the company. And so they are the ones who decide what my loads are, where they are, what time they need to be delivered and things. But if I were an owner operator, meaning I bought a truck or leased a truck and I can kind of decide my own loads, then yeah, I would actually be able to incorporate more free time to say, hey, today I'm going to take like a pit stop and I'm going to spend like 2 to 4 hours at this farm because I'm out here in Virginia or wherever, whatever have you. That's definitely something a trucker can do. But a lot of times the entryway is being a company driver and you start off because it's a huge investment to buy a truck. It's like 100, 200K, right? So yeah, I don't always get to do that. But sometimes, like I said, I'm just driving and I see a fruit stand on the side of the highway and like I'll just pull over and go grab a sack of apples or oranges or what peaches, pears, plums, whatever they have. It's great.
So you're getting it straight from the source. Wonderful. Herb, do you have any other questions? And Pete, I'm going to come to you also to ask if you have any questions for Jordan.
Yeah, oh man, that was amazing. Listening to everything you shared there, so much depth and just nourishment, hearing all that. Beautiful, thank you. Yeah, just hearing what you shared and your intentions with your awareness of the economy side of things and being a provider for your family. I imagine you have a vision in the future to have your own land and grow fruit forests and things like this. Is this something that you have lined up for yourself in the future?
Spot on, man. Spot on. That's definitely in the mid to long term vision. With the awareness that it's not all romanticized glitz and glamour. Like owning land is not the end goal. It's the beginning, right? Of lots of work, lots of it will cost money to kind of get things started and to keep things going. But I'm cultivating community with certain friends of mine where, the vision is to maybe like buy and own land, near one another and raise our families and, help each other with biodynamic, permaculture farming and planting fruit trees, and all of that is totally in the vision for sure.
Awesome, man. I wish you all the best, man. All the best.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much for that, Pete. Do you have any questions at all for Jordan? And we have 5 minutes.
You could capitalize on actually being a trucker or through the sprouting. That can be extra income. But it's been great. Yeah, thank you for your sharing. It's been really inspiring, and probably inspire so many other people. And to everyone can just do little bits. We don't have to go to full hog in terms of kimchi, sauerkraut. We only done it twice here, so it's so people listening in, we can just do little bits, the sprouting. If you want to do the sprouting, more fruits, try and pick the best fruits, local farmer markets, and more in season, a little bit more mono. So and yes, a great vision what you have in Jordan. It's on some, you could say it's a shame, but it is what it is, with your yoga and your massage, and that's society really doesn't have too many outlets for that, so you could make a good income on that. So anyway, all I can wish you is the best of luck, and I'm sure we are connected on the Instagram. So yes, blessings.
Wonderful. Maybe after you've been driving with this lifestyle for maybe in a year, and if you still decide to go with it, we can have you back on and you can tell us about some of the adventures you've been having. What is this? Is this from Christine? Is this your wife asking this question? What are some places that you like to shop at for fruit as a trucker?
Yep, that's her. So yeah, I can answer because it's probably a question a lot of people are thinking about, and I'll get to it in a short, sweet answer. Primarily for fruit, I always go to international markets as much as I can. Whenever I'm in a new place, new town, new city, I Google international market, international grocer, or I type in produce, fresh produce, and I just find the options, look at the reviews, look at the photos, and I find a place, because the international markets are going to have variety and they're going to have like quantity, right? So I can find like bulk, mangoes, or and also farmers market, or that helps too, because sometimes I'll find like an Amish stand or a local person that's like growing apples or things like that. So Google is my friend, and usually international and farmers markets. But if I'm not able to get to where I want to get to, a Kroger or a Walmart or just a local grocer, but I don't really see much food in those places that I consider edible. So it might just be like apples or like mandarins just to get me to the next step.
Well, we loved having you on. We really enjoyed very much having you with us today, Jordan. And on behalf of our other co-hosts who are not here today because they were not able to be, we want to thank you for coming on. And for those who are here today, thank you very much for coming on and for sharing your life with us. And do look up David Trucker. I think we have more truckers in this lifestyle on the road than we realize. And it'd be wonderful to really maybe do a show with all of you all at once at some point. So thank you very much. And I must say that your internet was steadier in the truck than mine here. So I actually was off at one point. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in today. And I look forward to next week with you all when we all come back here to look at many ways of being healthy. Bye for now.